Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Author's Den, where we speak with young authors about their inspiring stories. I'm host Kia Hatkar, and today we have with us a very special guest, someone who I am a big fan of. Please join me in welcoming Ishita Didi, the author of Simran's Diary.
Hi, Kia. Thank you for having me here. It's so nice to be sharing this with you.
I'm so happy that you could join and take out time from your busy schedule. Although we've met before, could you share a little about yourself and what you're interested in?
I think just like most young people, my hobbies have never stopped at just one thing. I was always interested in doing so many things that I could never point my finger on the one hobby I love most. But when I started exploring it further, I realized writing is something that helps me express myself so beautifully, and putting words together to express yourself, to articulate ideas and thoughts and emotions that sometimes you can't say out loud, turned out to be something really beautiful for me. So writing growing up was my passion, and I used to secretly write in my diary whenever I got time. I would hide from people. I would start researching and write biographies about people, so it had no bounds. I realized that this is something I love to do in whichever capacity. So that's something I really love to do, which led me to write my book. And over the years, I realized that I really want to contribute to the lives of people. I think we share this in common, is that whenever we do something, we want to have some impact on someone, even if it's a small impact. I was asking myself, how can I do this? And I realized public speaking is a great way to use your voice. And yeah, public speaking has been one of my biggest hobbies, which led me to organize a TEDx event, speak at other forums, and it also helps me meet someone like you, which makes me so happy that it's not just me expressing my ideas, but it also helps me meet people who are inspiring others so much more than I ever have. And I think these hobbies make me feel more fulfilled. And yeah, that's a little bit about myself.
That sounds like a lot of fun, and I completely agree with you on writing because for some people, right, when they can't express themselves through other ways, they express themselves through either art or writing. And for me, I can express myself really well is art. Although I really like writing, but I love art too. And I think the first time we both met was at the TED event that happened at Mumbai. And I must say that I had a fantastic time being there. And your co hosting skills were awesome and made the event even more enjoyable. I would love to know a little about your book and what inspired you to write.
So, my book, like I said, I used to write secretly in my own diary a lot. And I remember once my mother found the diary, and I was very scared that, someone's discovered everything I wrote in secret, everything that was so sacred to me. But she told me that, you know what, I feel like you have a knack for writing. And when you get that push from someone, when you get that validation that, what, someone believes that I can do this. At that young age, I think I needed that from someone. And I had my own self-esteem, but I think that push really inspired me to work ahead. So when I got that support, I realized, you know what, I can take a step ahead and build on this. If it's my diary, it could be any girl's diary. So that's why I came up with Simran's diary, because I didn't want it to be Ishita's diary. I wanted it to be the story of any girl, and I wanted it to be simple, be something that you can pick up and read and think, you know what, I relate with this. So that was the inspiration. And my book is essentially about a girl called Simran, and I would like to see her as my alter ego. So the things I don't want the world to know about how I think, it's all in Simran. And I incorporated a lot of my experiences growing up as a child in it. For example, when I got sex for the first time as a child, even something as small as that, how is the world going to view me? Or if you have a passion, how do you translate it into something big when you're a child? So that's what the book is about. Simran has a passion, but when you're young, people don't always give you a platform to, showcase it or build on it. And she's trying to do that. And at the end of the book, a secret related to her passion is revealed. So it's really interesting to work on that, to see how she navigates her family dynamics, things at school, relationships with friends, or pressures from different areas and facets of society, and ultimately, how does she fuel her passion?
I really like what the book is about, and I can really agree with you on that push that you need while you want to do something big, because the first step that starts as a great journey is your parents. Like, if they give you that push, then once you start, there's like no stopping you, and you just keep on doing what you love doing. Yeah, and to all the listeners, I encourage you to explore Ishita Didi's book, which can be found in the description below. It's also so nice how accessible the process of writing a book has become nowadays. And there are so many platforms available for young people to publish their work, and after completing a book, many individuals find themselves motivated and inspired, which leads them to them writing their own books. So moving on, could you share your experiences and insights as an author?
I think as an author, you will experience, it will never be a smooth sailing journey, as everyone says. It is a cliche, but I think it's true. It's never a smooth sailing journey. And the more you start writing, sometimes I think the problem with me is I always had this problem of over analyzing or perfectionism. So, as an author, when you start striving for everything being perfect, you start reviewing, the micro detailing of every chapter, every word you write. And that I think was something I really had to work on. And if there are authors, aspiring authors, I would say a lot of us have that knack for perfection. But when you're writing, I think you need to try to get the more human, raw side out. And you can keep the perfection aside for a while. Like, you tell yourself that I'll come back to you. I know you want this to be perfect, but I'll just come back to you. So that was one thing that I really had to work on, was just writing, free flowing, writing whatever is coming to me. And it doesn't have to be perfect while I pen it down. That happens later. So for you to be systematic, because for a lot of people like me, writing is a passion. It's something you do for fun, but you don't know how to do it systematically sometimes. So that was a challenge for me, how to convert something I love doing into, doing it in a more efficient way, in a more effective way. So that was something that trying to revamp my skills as much as I could. And yeah, that was something that I think is an insight that has stayed with me a lot, is to keep the perfectionism aside for a bit and just keep writing whatever is coming to you. And when it comes to publishing, I think in today's world, I'm so happy that people have so many ways and mediums to go out. And if I have an idea, I can write a book. So there should be nothing stopping you. At my time, I think the only thing not stopping me, but the only thing that were like hurdles in the way were trying to find publishers, trying to reach out to them. Because when you don't exactly have contacts in the industry, it seems like, how am I going to do this? Especially when you're so young. And I remember when I used to talk to publishers, for them to have that belief in you is very tough. So before they can have that belief in you, you need to have that belief in yourself. So as an author, while writing is really important, publishing is really important, I think the most important thing is having that belief in yourself in your book. Don't undersell, don't oversell, but know what you have written, know the time and effort you have put into it. So when you reach out to people, I think they'll recognize that. And for me, even though I was shy, I was confused, because I had that self-belief somewhere, I think it led me to find the right publisher at the right time. So I think it's very important that you can always become a better writer. You can always enhance your vocabulary. You can find new prompts to write. You can get over writing writer's block. Sometimes you can't. But something that should be constant throughout the journey is that belief in yourself.
To have that self-belief, it's something that every author needs. Like, if you're shy and if you're scared to go out to the world and like express yourself, that self-belief is something that can help yourself, and you need to help yourself before someone else can. And it's really inspiring to hear what you said. The journey of an author is like super important. It's a path filled with dedication and creativity. Like, each word written and each story told is a part of their unique journey, and that is what shapes them into who they become eventually. Once a book has been published, and it's ready to be shared with the world, the next crucial step is effectively marketing it to reach the target audience. So, how did you go about marketing your book?
I published my book, I didn't even know that there is something called marketing. When I was so young that the term itself, I mean, I'm sure I knew about the impact of it, but I did not really know that. I thought my efforts stop at just writing my book. But obviously, it's much more than that. There's so much that goes on after because you need people to know about your book. As much as you can feel fulfilled that, okay, I've written this, I'm happy. But there is always that thought in your head where how many people have read my book? How many people has this reached? So for me, I never really had like a strategy to market it because number one, I was so young, and also because I felt that I had a lot of different priorities at the same time. But I think one thing that really helped me market my book in a very indirect way was the events that I was organizing or the events I was speaking at. And looking back, I think one great strategy, if you are a public speaker or even if you are just someone who goes to different events, is to carry a copy or carry copies of your book with you. I think that's something I realized a little later on. I was so focused on, preparing my talk, getting it right, that I don't think I realized it would have been a great marketing avenue to take my book with me. It's really simple to just take it. In fact, personalize it. Give someone a signed copy, and that really stays with them. So I think indirectly, when I would speak at an event, people would want to know more about the book. So that turned out to be a great way to market it. And there's also a lot of literature fests that happen in my city, Pune. There's an amazing literature festival called Pune International Literature Festival. So I think as an author, you need to find all these opportunities. Sometimes they might not come knocking on your door. Sometimes you have to go knocking. So I tried to find these different avenues, and public speaking at various events was the number one thing that helped people discover more about me. But it doesn't just stop there. I tried to organize my own events for the youth, by the youth. And that would not really say much about my book, but it would build on the person that I am. And that also helps people want to get to know your work more. But I think one advice that I have to market a book is take those copies with you. And I know that wherever I have gone to an event and someone has given me a copy of a book, if I find it interesting, I genuinely do go back home and read it. And I had the pleasure of getting the copies of your book, and I was so happy when I received it. And to have that personalized message and to open it to think, okay, this is the person I met there and this is what she said to me, it resonates so well. And I think there is no marketing like a personal connection. So that has been something I believe. In today's world, there's so many facets to it. And with media being so accessible, I think it's all up to us about how creatively you use it. Yeah, how distinct you make it. So you need to stand out much more in today's world because everyone's marketing their books. So what's special about you is what you need to figure out, and use media, use bookstores, events, and never hold back.
I hope our listeners could take some points from this, and from what you shared, I learned a few things by myself. And actually, to me, right, marketing an inspiring book is like giving wings to a powerful message that has the potential to touch countless lives and make a lasting impact on the readers. It's the opportunity to connect with individuals on a deep emotional level, sparking inspiration, motivation, and a positive change. So, this takes me to my next question. What's the big moral or takeaway that you want readers to get from your book?
Self-esteem is always something that you need to have with you, and you need to nurture it. When you think a thought, you're thinking it in solace, and so you have to have that mindset that you can nurture it. You can tell yourself where to, what's right and what's wrong. As a kid, I used to struggle with that, and I wanted my book to be a medium for other children and parents to understand that the experiences they go through aren't just experiences. They're deeper than that. There's nuances in them that you need to see. That when you have a passion, don't just put it under the carpet. And that was a really big thing I wanted children to know. So a model for children was that this girl has a passion and she's constantly working on it. Even if other people don't see it, even if they might not recognize it, she's working on it. So, what's stopping you? She probably has the same resources as you. Maybe you have more, or maybe you have less. But how resourceful are you? How inventive are you? So you can hopefully learn that from Simran in the book, how she's using whatever she has to fulfill her passion. I really wanted children to understand that it could be anything. Because to me, as a kid, I always was like, why do I have to wait till I grow up? I just want to do it now. I don't want to wait. And I want the world to see young people as that. Why should an adult always be viewed as that? The perception should change. So it was about the change in perception and, taking a strong step towards your passion. And also for parents, the message about the children is visible, but parents are sometimes neglected through the way. And I wanted that to come through in my book in small ways, because I know how my parents have supported me through my journey. And like you had mentioned, that when you have them by your side, you feel like you can achieve anything.
Yeah.
So I wanted to show that relationship with parents, and I wanted parents to see that what's a child's way of thinking when they interact with you, or how do you feel? What does the parent feel when a child is maybe bickering? The parent's emotion should come through as well. And I wanted people to know that it's never a perfect relationship. Like, people would sometimes ask me at events, like, your parents come everywhere with you, they're so supportive. But it's never going to be like, always a happy journey. You're going to have arguments, you're going to have discussions, and that just makes your relationship even more beautiful. So I wanted that relationship to come out. And I wanted parents to read it and feel I can support my child while also supporting myself.
It's something that everyone can really relate with, and this got me to a funny thought. Like, how when you're baking or cooking something, every ingredient is important, otherwise the dish will be incomplete. And that is the same way that one's journey is. Like, if you leave out something, then the journey does not feel complete. Now, do you have any tips for other young aspiring authors who are dreaming of writing their books?
I would say that something I struggled with a lot was writer's block. So for an aspiring writer, I would say that something that helped me was now we have phones, but I would take a journal with me everywhere I went, literally everywhere. Or, take my phone with me everywhere I went. And anything I would notice, if I'm sitting in my school bus and I'm looking outside and I see a man walking with someone, I would look at it and ask myself, like imagine the life they live. Just try to imagine it. What life are they living right now? How are they talking to each other? If I would be sitting in my bus and I would see a guy sleeping, I would ask myself, what kind of day has he had? Is he tired? Does he need a nap because he wants to conserve energy? Like, the most random things. And I would just try to observe. So wherever I would go, I would try to look at the lives of other people around me, because articulating your thoughts or putting your life into words or expressing it, your own needs, what you have seen from your eyes is really, it's not easy for sure, but it comes to you, maybe slowly and steadily, but it comes to you sometimes naturally or with a little bit of effort. But trying to see the world through the eyes of other people, I think really enhances you as an author. So that's something that really helped me with not just writer's block, but also making my worldview and my perspective much more comprehensive. So that's what I would do. Wherever I would go, I would try to look at small things and just build on it, no matter how crazy it seems. Like, maybe I don't even know if they're friends or they're siblings, and make my own connection and keep going. And sometimes it leads you to a beautiful story. So if you're walking in your house and you have a random question in your head, like, why are there posters behind an auto? Like, the most random question.
Yeah.
Just build on it. Don't let that thought go unnoticed. And there have been so many times where I've thought, what was that thing I thought the other day? When I was like doing my skincare, I forgot about it. So I think some of your best thoughts come in the most trivial moments. And you might think that, they can't be translated into something, but you can use your words and it can turn into something really beautiful. So I would say try doing that. Wherever you go, maybe just try to find one point and just build on it. One person, one place, and keep building on it. And that will help you even go back home and research. Because in today's world, credibility is also extremely important because you have things like AI. So you can't get away with it. So when these thoughts come to you more naturally, your instinct as an author also really gets better and better. So that journal has been very sacred for me, and I hope everyone has that personal journal of how they view the world, because it's like having your own fantasy book of the real world.
When you observe things really closely, then it starts giving you ideas on what you can put into your book, and it doesn't have to be exactly what you thought it would. You could make it in your own words and then put it into your book. Now, before we conclude, I am genuinely intrigued to know if you plan on writing a second book.
Oh my god, I've been asking myself this question for so long, and I think I've been putting it off for so long. I definitely do plan on writing another book, but I think I need that push. So I'm gonna take this as that push, and I'll maybe ask you to keep me accountable. Hey, Ishita Didi, are you writing a book? But no, I definitely want to. And over the years, I've had a lot of ideas that I've written halfway through and abandoned. So there's like abandoned projects, which I think as you like grow as a writer, there will be so many abandoned projects that you look at and you're like, you teleport back to the time where you wrote that. But I definitely do. I've also been trying to plan a co-authoring thing with someone really close to me. And if it works out, I would love to write another book, because I think there's nothing more beautiful than the relationship I share with my pen, or in today's world, the keys on the laptop. So I think I definitely want to. But if I do, it would not be a fiction book. It would be non-fiction, is what I would want to dabble into. Because I feel the experiences that I've lived through, there have been some unique learnings about growing up that I would love to share with people, whether it's anxiety or relationships growing up. Because I feel I never had like a book I could go to that described all of these things in ways that I could understand it. And really later on in my life, I found a book called Note to Self by Connor Franta.
Yes.
And that book really became something that I kept close to my heart. But until then, and by that time, I think I already developed a lot, and I dealt with, things like anxiety or, navigating my own personality. By that time, I had done it. So that book was a support system, but I think I would always ask myself, if I had this a few years earlier, it would be so much easier. So I really wish that I could work on a non-fiction project and make it not seem like boring non-fiction self-help, how it is viewed in today's world. I think non-fiction is much more than that. So I would love to work on a project like that for young people.
You will do a great job on writing a book. And for an author, right, once they start writing, you get that urge that you have to explore other genres too. And when you read other books, you get to know like what was the thought process of the author while they were writing the book. So I think that exploring genres is really important. And yeah, I really look forward to reading Simran's diary. And I'm sure it's going to be a great book after hearing what you spoke in this amazing podcast. Thank you, Ishita Didi, for joining us on the Author's Den today. You sharing your amazing adventure and ideas with us was a true joy.
Thank you so much for having me, Kea. And it's such a pleasure. And I don't think there's very few people in this world that I have met that have inspired me like you have. And I wish that people watching this would know the story of how we met at TEDxGateway in Mumbai, where I was having, like you said, I was co-hosting the event. But while you're co-hosting, you have so many thoughts in your head when you're backstage. And, you think, what am I going to say next? Am I prepared for what I'm going to say? And while we had one of the breaks to walk out, and I met you, it there's some people you meet that make you feel so happy, and you did that for me that day. And I know a lot of people watching this are already your fans, but I really want them to know that when I was having such a rigorous day, meeting Kea really like brought me back, and it helped me ground myself, it helped me feel happy, and just have someone I already felt like, oh, I have a friend here. So thank you for inspiring me and for being someone who was like my source of joy. And I'm glad that meeting you there could lead me to sharing this podcast today with you.
Thank you. And to all those tuning in, thank you for listening to this amazing podcast. Do join us next time for inspiring stories. Till then, happy reading and writing.